Hi everyone, today we are answering the questions that were posted underneath our Thursday post about red-tailed hawks. And so the first question was asking about the modeling of the juvenile red-tailed hawk. And yes, they do have some modeling on the chest, but it is more light colors on their chest with a few dark modeling spots, whereas their backs are a little more dark with some light modeling. And also they asked how long it takes for them to lose that modeling. It depends on the subspecies. Some subspecies have modeling all the way into their adult plumage. Some, like a lot of the ones that you will see, especially here in Montana, will get a almost completely dark brown back of their wings and back and their head, and will have hardly any color variations in their back of their wings and their back and their head. And so the next two videos are going to show an adult red-tailed hawk and also one of our education ambassadors to show a difference between subspecies. So this here is one of our birds that we have in rehab, and he's a red-tailed hawk that is an adult. A good way to tell that he's an adult from the front is he doesn't have quite as much speckles on his chest as a juvenile does, and on the top of his head and his wings. So his head and back and wings are all pretty solid dark brown, and you can see kind of across his belly he's got a semblance of a belly band. It's not a very dark solid belly band, from this angle it's kind of hard to see his tail, but it's a lot lighter on the bottom, whereas on the top of the back, or on the top of his tail, it's a dark red, brick red color. Now this is what you would call a light morph red-tailed hawk, and that's partially because you can see that his belly band is not very dark. Also, sometimes dark morphs won't even have a white section on their upper chest, whereas the light morphs typically have that light spot up there, and they have a very undefined belly band, although you can see it. Obviously, being this close to him, you probably wouldn't in the wild, but you can see that he has very dark brown eyes, and he has a yellow cere, which is that skin around his beak where his nostrils or nares are. And then his feet are kind of dirty, but they're a yellow color as well. And when they're younger, red-tailed hawks will have, before they reach 2 years of age, they'll have kind of light gray, green eyes, almost a hazily color, and their cere and their feet will be more of a pale greenish blue color oftentimes. And those will kind of all start to change throughout those first 2 years of their life. So this bird is an adult. And so as far as the subspecies go, there are 14 different subspecies of red-tailed hawks currently. There is some debate on which birds should be subspecies. Some people believe that some of the species should be not even considered a red-tailed hawk. So there's definitely some debates and different ideas among the subspecies of red-tailed hawks. But a really good way to tell what one of those subspecies are is based on the region you're seeing the hawk in. So this bird is found here in Montana, and so you're going to see the western subspecies of red-tailed hawk mostly over here, Western Canadian and a little bit of California. Those hawks are all going to look decently similar. So this is, for the scientific name, is the Buteo jamecensis calaris, and so it's a light morph, so it can get kind of tricky when you're trying to tell the difference with subspecies. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the first question that we had about red-tailed hawks on Thursday. Someone asked if they keep that speckled kind of look like the juvenile had in the pictures of our previous post about red tails. And someone asked if they keep that speckled or if it goes away. And you can see on this bird that it definitely does not have a lot of those light speckles on its head and on its side of its wing there. And if you could see the back, you would see that it's a pretty solid brown color with some lightness to the feathers as well. But they do typically lose that speckled kind of coloration on their backs and on their wings, and that goes for this subspecies. There are definitely other subspecies like the Kreider's red-tailed hawk or a light morph Harlan's hawk that often do have speckles on their head and their wings and back. And when I say speckles, I'm saying kind of like a mottled white and brown coloration. So a lot of the juveniles that we see here at the center will come in with the mottling, and then we'll see the adults, different adults come in, and they'll often have that solid brown head and wings and back when they come in. So they do lots of changing, which is pretty cool that they will shift into an adult plumage, and that it can be quite a dramatic change, as you can see in the pictures in our previous post. Okay, here is Sydney, and she is our only education ambassador red-tailed hawk. And she is pretty amazing to have as an education ambassador because she's what's called a Kreider's red-tailed hawk. So Kreider's is her subspecies, and you can see she looks quite different compared to the other red-tailed hawk that we were looking at earlier. And the Kreider's red-tailed hawk, you can see, has kind of a lighter, pale, almost pinkish color to their tails, and you can see she has a very light head, and you can see that mottling on her head and tail, showing that she's definitely not the same subspecies as the other one. Now, it can get tricky to tell the difference between subspecies since there are 14 different ones across the United States and Central America and South America. But we have a few that you will see here in Montana. We often will see the Harlan's hawk, which is a more darker colored hawk, and they don't have much red on their tail at all. In fact, it's mostly white and dark spotting rather than the brick red solid color with some dark striping that you usually see. And we also have the Kreider's hawk, which you saw with Sydney. And we do also have a couple other subspecies that are considered the Western and Canadian subspecies, like the Colaris subspecies that you saw earlier. And there are also Eastern subspecies. There's an Alaskan subspecies. There are 3 different ones in Mexico. There's a Central American subspecies, Jamaica subspecies, and the Cuban subspecies. So you can tell that there's a lot of different varieties with them. They do all look pretty similar, but you can see on some of the pictures that there is some variation. Now these pictures and information is on the Cornell All About Birds website. If you would like to look into them a little bit more, I recommend checking them out. And you can see below the names of the people who took these photos of these beautiful red-tailed hawks. We appreciate you all for checking out this video, and we hope you learned something about red-tailed hawks. Have a great rest of your day.